Good morning and welcome to Wellbeing Wednesday. After this time of lockdown, I think many of us have been thinking about having a holiday, whether it be a staycation or going abroad. And today I'm really pleased to be joined by Michelle Goulding from Travel Counsellors. And the first thing we're going to talk about actually is going away. Is there loads and loads of stuff that should be stopping us going away, Michelle?
There's this big thing called COVID. Not sure if you've heard of it.
Oh, darn, I forgot about that.
Yeah. No, apart from COVID. No, actually, I don't think there are lots of things that are stopping us going away. Obviously, I don't think you should be travelling to somewhere that's on the FCO advising against travel list because it's illegal and your travel insurance won't be covered. But other than that, I think you're good to go. If the FCO says you can do it, then get on a plane and do it. Just make sure that you've had all the right advice on testing before you go, testing before you come back. Some countries don't require testing if you've got 2 jabs, so that will cut the cost down. And some countries that are on the green list, you don't need jabs to come back in to the UK with, so that also cuts down the cost. But
okay,
it's quite important you get right advice.
And exactly, and I think sometimes it's really tempting to kind of like book online with some of these really sort of popular online websites. But working with somebody like yourself to go, if you're planning on going away, you have for me, an extra layer of reassurance. And I know you were talking to me about some of your emails that you were sending out. You almost felt like you were putting people off.
Yeah, definitely. At the moment, at the inquiry stage, I just want to make sure everybody is really well informed about what they need to do before they go, because it's not as easy as it used to be of just turning up at the airport and getting on a plane. So the key thing is to make sure that you are informed about, at the moment, obviously everything could change before you go, but at the moment what you would need to do if you were to get on a plane. And yeah, I've kind of been feeling that my emails have been looking a little bit negative, almost as if I'm saying maybe you shouldn't go away, but I'm not saying you shouldn't go away. I just want to make sure that everybody is well informed to make a decision. So you've got all the information in front of you that you can make an informed decision about whether it's right for you and your family.
And I think you're absolutely right. And I know that if I was planning to go away in the current climate, I would be much more inclined to book through somebody like yourself than I would just be online. Because the other thing, of course, is things are changing so rapidly. I mean, we seem to wake up every morning and there's a bit more news about this morning. Heathrow have kind of put in their red area for passport control. So things are constantly changing.
Yes, they are. It's making my job quite difficult, but yeah, things are constantly changing. But I think at the moment, that's why it's really important that you do book with a real human being and not just book online, because you book online, the chances are you're going to turn up at the airport to get on your plane and be rejected. You know, there are certain things, like some countries require 72-hour testing before you get on the plane. Some take the 72 hours as being when you landed. So you've got to take into account timing differences and the flight journey. And that's why it's really important that you use somebody who can actually do that calculation for you and help you along the way, rather than you just turn up at the airport and you've got the wrong 72 hours, as an example.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about lockdown, because I know you are yourself a very well-travelled lady, am I right?
You are right, yes. I haven't been everywhere though, still places I want to go.
Still places to go. But I know at the beginning of lockdown, for a lot of people it was incredibly hard. But for you as a traveller, you must have really missed like going abroad and visiting all these different places. But you had a little trick up your sleeve, didn't you? Tell me what you did.
I did. Well, for me at the start of lockdown, everything was quite difficult. You know, I was on my own. I couldn't get a supermarket delivery. I had a holiday to India booked for 2 weeks after a week and a half after we went into lockdown. So that obviously got cancelled. Couldn't see my family, and my business was terrible. I had people stuck all over the world, and you know, and I people wanting refunds and cancelling holidays and rebooking holidays. It was quite a difficult time, and I was struggling a little bit, to be honest with you. It was difficult. I was very up and down, and I just decided to put my focus on something else, kind of take me back to happier times, so to speak. So I started an A to Z of places that I'd been. So I'd get up every morning and say, right, today's A, or I'd plan it the night before, dig through pictures, look at my trip to Argentina, for example, post a picture of Argentina and write a little story about my trip in Argentina and ask other people where have they been. And before I knew it was really taking off on LinkedIn and on Facebook. You know, people were posting their pictures of A's with their stories, and then other people were replying to that. And then, you know, next day it was B, next day it was C. And I started with countries, and then obviously lockdown went on for a bit longer than 26 days. So I had to go around again. And I went with cities for the next one, and I made it a little bit more educational as well the second time round, so people could do things with their children. You know, I included flags and a cookery dish to go and make and things like that. Yeah, but a real little community started joining in, and there were people commenting on other people's posts as well as my own, and funny stories were coming out that other people had had. And I had one lady contact me and say that every night she would sit down with her family, and they knew what the next letter would be, and they were going through their own photo albums and reminiscing about places they've been and things they've done and their happy, funny memories from there. So it was really good, actually. And instead of posting all my posts in advance or scheduling them, I would do that every morning because it gave me something to get up for. You know, and then I'd spend probably most of the day just checking when people had said anything, and I'd be replying and reading through them. So it gave me a bit more of a positive focus than just cancelling holidays.
Do you know, I think it's absolutely amazing. You start doing something like that really for your own benefit, and then suddenly it turns out that it's helping and benefiting so many other people. And that engagement as well. I did something similar a while back with Random Acts of Kindness, myself and Rachel Atkinson, and it just kind of took off, and I had all these people contacting me saying, oh, can I have a random act of kindness and all this sort of thing. And it was just absolutely amazing. These things are infectious and really, really positive.
Yeah, my Facebook posts were getting 20,000 views a day, which would never happen. You know, I'm not normally that interesting, and I don't think it was me that was interesting either. I think it was the engagement from the other people that was interesting. But I've now started putting those all into a blog, so that's all been launched into a permanent blog. My stories, I haven't stolen other people's.
Excellent. And just so that everybody knows, we will put in a link to the blog in the comments for you so that you can check that out. Listen, Michelle, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Any advice if somebody's sort of like sitting on the fence about thinking about whether or not to go away, or what would sort of your best advice be at this point?
So my best advice would probably be obviously book with a person, but make sure it's flexible. Make sure that you fully understand the terms and conditions. So the way that I'm booking everything is that it can be moved if it needs to be, or refunded if it needs to be. So number one, book with a person. Number two, check the T's and C's. Please do not book anything until you know how flexible it is. Number three, make sure you have proper insurance in place, which is something else I can also help with, but you need to make sure your insurance covers you in case your PCR test comes back positive 3 days before you travel. You need to make sure that you can be able to get your money back on that. Most insurers do, but please check the small print on your insurance as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you. And if anybody needs some more help and advice on booking travel, then Michelle's the person to go to. And again, we'll put a link on her in the comments for Michelle's website. Thanks again, Michelle, and everybody have a lovely day.
Thank you very much, Sandy.